experiencing and where people are coming from and where they'd like to go. And I mean, it's a great place to archive things that are historical, things that are, you know, fictional and non-fictional for people to, you know, learn from, pull strength from, immerse themselves in, and just give us this like robust world outside of our own, you know, both fictional and non-fictional, like I said. So just
And
a great place to have all these stories kept and maintained and passed down.
Fantastic.
Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I just want to say that I'm here, but without video for some reason. And I like all of those reasons. I'm Tim, the director, and I like all of those reasons why libraries exist. I like, different definitions of libraries and reasons for them to exist that I see at different times. And I think one way of describing what we do is to say libraries exist because individuals can't own everything. So they are for sharing communal property, whether that be books or movies or some of the more modern things like telescopes and microscopes and so forth.
And Barb, okay, we all know who you are, but why do you think libraries exist?
I think that a lot of people have answered the same way. I mean, it's a collection of history. It's a place for people to come and get information, a place for people to come and socialize. It's sort of a community center. It's the source of information and enrichment for the community, and the availability of, you know, places to meet, be it, you know, the study rooms, be it our meeting rooms, be it the little children's area. Um, it's sort of the center in the heart of your community.
Good. So this, look at the commonality and diversity of just amongst the people of this committee. Okay, well, the computer was speaking. In any event, so look at the unity and diversity in justice and the people who are receiving the services. So I'd like to hear some ideas on why folks think there was such a small contribution from the staff.
I'll go. Can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, Kent. Thank you.
So this will reveal my personal bias, but I hate to say it, I'll just be blunt.
We not the strategic plans that we've heard of from various libraries and our own from years past always does begin with a mission statement, and, you know, then a little bit of history about your library and things such as that, and then a developing of the programs and things that sort of fulfill the mission statement. Now, are you familiar with something totally different from that?
You're asking me, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So there was thank you, John, one little clause at the end of your question that I didn't quite understand. I don't know if I answered.
Well, no, you did. That the state does require a mission statement.
Okay.
Now, a follow-up to that, when we sent out the request, you and I think Andy together shortened the statement with some input. And do you want to share that? Because I think that sort of is simple, and it would give us a sort of a starting point in which, as I said, to hang our hat.
I'm looking for it.
Well, I have the
You have it,
simplified
Andy?
one. The simplified one we talked about was the mission of the Goodland Public Library is to provide our community with equal access to
individual interests. When that push for the mission statement, in a sense, runs contrary to what I think is the beauty of a library, which is that individuals find themselves in the library, and enhance their own identity, their own sense of place and community and country, etc.
something, but then the real power is in the strategic theme. You know, this is what you put on TikTok, you know, so to speak. What do other folks think?
So are we considering starting from scratch, I guess? Or are we still between the two kind of options that we had, the lengthier version, the shorter version?
I think from what I heard, that people are looking towards the shorter version, but they want a strategic theme more along the lines of.
Of what we're talking about, isn't it?
But well-being is such a, to me, a general term. Well-being in what way? Spiritually, mentally, physically?
All of them.
Yeah, I
Right.
just, if we can just keep it simple, it's for your enjoyment, it's for your learning, and capture this other great ideas in our strategic theme.
Theme.
I see that as a good direction, but
Well, yeah, or we could take, Dave Gilliam,
To being a librarian. Most people today wouldn't even know that. So I'm completely comfortable including cultural enrichment, or even just enrichment, but that's where I was coming from. But it might strike people, Maria knows that history, but it might strike people as missing if we don't have it in there.
This means anything, providing people with anything they need for lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment.
It's
Is there a better word?
it's not yeah and it's a very fair question. Is there a better word? I would just like I tend to think of a library also.
now, when I think of resources, Ted, in a sense, I'm sort of proud of our library because I think we've sort of been on the cutting edge. It's not just computers, it's fishing poles, it's baking stuff, it's games for kids. It's in our new edition, a drop-in playroom where moms and dads can bring their little toddlers when the parks, aren't open, it's too cold, so they can come in, they can meet each other, they can socialize. That's all encompassing to me in the word resources.
For doing that. And I think the conversation that we're having now is exactly what needs to be done. Now, the alternative, and I've been through a lot of different businesses and organizations with this kind of stuff, gets to why I added question 0 to my little outline there about are we ready? Because an alternative to this, if we're not really ready to do it hard, to accept the mission statement that's already up on the website, and then redo this plan, it's a couple of hours work, just as it is, because most of what's in there is fantastic. We can just tighten it up. We can change it to, our mission, our community, our plan, and what did I have? Our future. Bing, 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 using most of what's on there already and maybe tweaking a bit of it and sending it to the board, recommending it to the board.
Look at the vision and the goals and then craft a mission statement around that, because that helps us reach out to our different stakeholders, get feedback, more feedback from the staff, more feedback from the community. We've got some, but not very much, and see where we're at and see where those things line up. There's a lot of times magical words that pop out that you can see almost if you put it in a word cloud that appear in the middle. I don't think the mission statement that was approved by the board in the spring is.
If we could create a mechanism for better dialogue and a better communal why through this process, I'd be in favor of going deep rather than just trying to get this done.
Could I ask a question, since I'm new on this? Without getting too granular on this, I'm not clear on the role of the board in terms of getting into the weeds. The things that interest me about the potential of a library in this day and age of political polarization is to ask the question whether the library could promote greater cross-party understanding in a community, could bridge in some way the political partisan divide. For example, host a series of programs.
And to be fair to everyone on the call and to Natalie as well, that line is very hard to find sometimes, it's and it almost moves on different issues, the line between what the board should be doing and what they should not be doing, and what the staff should be doing and not doing, you know? So it's a tough situation, but I think that we're asking good questions here.
And I hear Ted and I hear Tim saying, we need to do the deep dive on this and really get this together, so that's the question for us now, which was the title of the piece I gave to everyone. How shall we approach long-range / strategic planning? So the question for the committee now is, what are our next steps, moving towards this process, and I think what I hear
On the old one and saying, what was successful, what wasn't.
Well, if we can reuse parts of it, why reinvent the wheel? It gives a good starting point, and then that way we can build on it, because I'm sure not all of it is scrap. Some of it probably works very well for us, and then that it's like working smarter, not harder. We're not doing everything from square one, right?
Right. And the other point that Tim mentioned
Or
is
you're muted. Sorry.
I shouldn't be. It says I'm not muted. So are you
No,
hearing me
Barbara,
now?
you're fine. Corey was talking too, but she was muted, so I didn't want her to
Okay.
get her whole speech and nobody heard it.
Basic.
And I can fill in wherever as well. I think that staff focus group discussions are going to be super important to this.
I think
Since my name came up there, would you be, are you a board member? I think you are.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so if Ted were the board member, I could be that third party. I'd be happy to do that.
I think the board member or board members need to be, with all due respect, I'm sorry, Barbara, this is going to sound wrong, but I think it needs to be Corey or Elish or.
To get the staff involved.
Okay, I just want to drop two other things in that are quasi irrelevant and will be a distraction, but I can't resist. One of them is a phrase that might relate to a mission kind of idea, but the phrase is growing with the times, because that's something that I think that a library has to do. It's kind of an existential question. It has to be growing with the times. And the other,
we could say the libraries have a thermostatic function, which means you have to look at the times and see how things are getting extreme and begin to adjust, just like a thermostat adjusts the cold and the hot. Okay, you have to have a balancing function to what's going on out there, and you have to know what's going on out there. So I heartily second what Ted is saying, more than you even need.
Very good. Okay, everybody satisfied with that plan?
Yep.
Very, very good. Well, thank you all for attending, and then Ted, we'll wait to hear from you and Jonathan and Natalie. When you can pull off sort of, I guess you might call it a focus group or just an informal coffee, however you want to set it up. And then we'll meet, go over the old plan and take it from there. Okay?
Can I
Sounds
suggest it?
good, great meeting.
I
Can I-
suggest,
Natalie, are you still there?
Yep.